Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to my channel. I'm Thomas Sim, PA2066. Today is 20th of January 2023. I'd like to do a topic on sales and purchase agreement. They follow up on my earlier video recording regarding letter of engagement, which is when the agent is engaged with the vendor, and after that doing the letter of offer and acceptance, which is the agreement to purchase by the two parties. One is to purchase and the other one is to accept the purchaser's offer. So after having done all that, we move to sales and purchase agreement. So this is SPA. So let me begin. Hello, welcome to my channel. Again, I'm Thomas Sim, PA2066. Today is 20th of January 2023. What is in a SPA? The key elements of sales and purchase agreement. So let me begin. So sometimes they call it S&P, sometimes they call it SPA. At the end is actually the contract that governs the transaction between a seller and a buyer. The seller sell the property to the buyer, buyer purchase with the consideration to acquire this property. So S&P and SPA are used interchangeably. Okay, what is in legal position of a contract here? SPA is a legal document. So according to Malaysia's scenario, is Contracts Act 1950, and it is between the two parties, which I said just now, the seller and the purchaser. Of course, this seller doesn't mean it has to be a single person. Sometimes it can be a group of people. Sometimes it's husband and wife. Sometimes it's a company, Sendirian Berhad company, which has got its shareholders. Also, it can be a trust, somebody holding it as trust. And then the purchaser also similar. Purchaser can be a single person, a natural person, can be a company, a Sendirian Berhad company. Depends on how many. So we have a group of people, friends coming together. We have husband and wife coming together, parent and children coming together, or girlfriend, boyfriend coming together as buyers to purchase this property. So there is no particular rules that says that it has to be some sort of relationship. It has to be a husband and wife, or it has to be a related person. It doesn't mean that it has to be a related person. You can have two friends, childhood friends, or you have a company that come into venture together, and this can consist of the purchasers to purchase a plot of land for a development. So all these are possible. By us talking about sales and purchase agreement, normally it is a private treaty, which means that a person privately sell his property through himself as acting as a seller himself, direct to the buyer, or he wants to go through a process of tender or process of even auction. There is still agreement to purchase. That is the sales and purchase. Eventually, sales and purchase at the end signify the official transaction, a legalized transaction between a person selling and a person who receives the property and by payment of consideration. However, we hereby say that sales and purchase agreement in our discussion today is more for private sale, but not for developer sale. The developer sale is controlled by the Housing Development Control and Licensing Act and Schedule G and H, which is in fact mandatory use of this Schedule G for landed property and Schedule H for the strata type of property. Of course, in Sarawak, it's called Form B and Form C. In position, Sarawak are actually using the different format. Our housing Development and Control and Licensing Ordinance. So that is HDO. Right, who drafts the sales and purchase agreement? So it is usually the lawyer who is appointed in this case for representing the party. It usually is a party that has the information, which is the vendor, the seller. It can be also the lawyer who represent the purchaser to draft, of course, with given documents. Sometimes the purchaser wants to ensure that it is under the control. So usually the purchaser lawyer would approach the seller, and then the seller, because as long as you pay me lah, I don't mind not being represented. As long as you pay me the money, it would be straightforward lah. So sometimes some of the owners they just follow the purchaser's lawyer. So in such a scenario, the owner is not represented lah. That is weak on the owner side lah, to protect his rights. So of course the lawyers will charge a legal fee lah for doing up the sales and purchase agreement. So there is a advocates remuneration rules 2018 for Sarawak, and roughly for a 500,000 property, the legal fee according to the schedule is 4,001 for purchaser to pay, and then 2,000 half for the vendor to pay. Of course, the work for the vendor side, this is the standard sales and purchase, not including all the other, if there is a discharge of charge or whatever other vehicle that need to be lodged or document that has to be prepared, then there will be other charges. But generally, that is a schedule controlled by Advocates Remuneration Rule for 2018 in Sarawak. So this is the Advocates Remuneration Rule Sarawak. So I have given a breakdown, and if you can see, 500,000 house is 4,001, and until 1 million is 7,003. So of course the lawyers are allowed to maybe give some discounts. In West Malaysia is discount as 25%. Officially discount to 25%, given a 25% discount. So this is the rate. As you can see, up to 10,000, 2.5%, next 40,000, 1%, the next 50,000, 0.9% on the reducing scale. So this another part is how to charge, where the transaction includes the sales and purchase agreement, and also the memorandum of transfer to complete the sale. The advocate who represent the vendor shall charge 1/2 of the scale, and the advocate who represent the purchaser shall charge the full scale. So this is how it's worded lah. So I don't want to go into detail. We are not lawyers, so just that we have to know there is a way of calculating their legal professional fee lah. So the part that is overlapping for agents' work to the sales and purchase agreement is actually the letter of offer and acceptance, which are worded to include these informations like what are the property, what is the pricing, and then what are the progress of the payment type form. So this I want to summarize for who to who, agent to lawyer, and then the part is that the pre-SPA we call pre-SPA to the SPA Pre-SPA is the part that is usually handled by agent, because agent does the marketing, looking for the prospect buyer. After that, then do up the offer and acceptance, and then sign up. It is a pre-SPA contract It itself also is a contract. Letter of offer or letter of offer and acceptance or agreement to purchase. These are all words used to describe this piece of legal document. And then after that, proceed to sales and purchase agreement. The overlapping side, I just want to touch on a bit. Terms of agreement. Purchase price 10% as down payment, and subsequently 90% to be paid within 3 months. And if there is an extension needed, 1 month extension of another 30 days, there will be likely interest mentioned here. In Sarawak, some of the SPA mentioned 6%, some mentioned 8%. In KL and other places, up to even 10 to 12%. So for the late payment. Right, this late payment is for the loan side because the 90%, if a loan never released and drag on, and therefore this money is actually by right should be paid on the expiry of 90 days. But it did not get through on the expiry of 90 days. The extra days that it need to extend this per day will be charged by this calculation. So 6%, 8% or 10% or 12% is per annum rate. Later on, I will show you how to calculate the extra interest charge. Later we will see one calculation. So the subsequent part that is overlapping is actually the condition of the title and the delivery of possession. Usually it is mentioned both in the letter of offer as well as in the sales and purchase agreement that this delivery of the property handover is as is where is basis. And usually the purchaser would have already inspected the building, the property, understand how it is a condition, and then the eventual handling over of this property should be as is where is when he inspected. So if it is inspected and told that the property is sold together with the furniture, as there is specified in the sales and purchase agreement, when there is a dispute over this change of condition, then the misrepresentation may happen, or contract can be found to be avoidable. So this is important. As is where is must be mentioned both in the letter of offer and acceptance as well as the sales and purchase agreement. And if the property is subject to existing tenancy and there is a tenancy ongoing, then the letter of offer and acceptance as well as the sales and purchase agreement would have to include this particular clause, subject to existing tenancy, whether the purchaser is willing to purchase with the existing tenancy or the purchaser refuse to accept the house, the vacant possession, if the tenant is still there. So it has to be tenant has to be terminated before the vacant possession. So all these need to be spelled out in the both the letter of offer and acceptance as well as the sales and purchase agreement. So the third part is the delivery of the vacant possession only after full payment, the receipt of the full payment of the purchase price. Later on we will go into the third part here, the vacant possession upon full completion of the payment. So repeat in SBA summarize here to ensure the certainty as well as consistency from the beginning of the agreed consent. I mean to say that the both party consent to the condition that this transaction need to carry out. So this transaction has to be complying the Contracts Act. Need to be told to both parties to consent. So the SPA, of course, is the major piece of the document, the legal document, but the pre-SPA letter of offer and acceptance move this consent as an initial document of proof that if you agree to the letter of offer and acceptance and in consistence to the sales and purchase agreement, there will be no dispute anymore. So it's a full proof, no ambiguity as you move on from the letter of offer to the sales and purchase agreement. But then sales and purchase agreement would have more detailed steps in the subsequent handing over, especially in the part of completion of payment as well as the condition that the contingency may happen during the later part of the loan approval or disbursement. Loan approval disbursement part may have complication that eventually may not go through. So in that sense, it has to spell out in the sales and purchase agreement. However, in the earlier part, the pre-SPA part, this has not really been studied in detail. Of course, the loan offer letter has been issued by the bank. Only then the purchaser proceed to signing of the sales and purchase. However, the letter of offer from the bank is subject to unforeseen circumstances that the release of the loan is eventually called off. So these are issues that would be spelled out and explained in more detail in sales and purchase agreement, but not in the earlier one, which is the letter of offer and acceptance. So the sales and purchase part one, I want to touch on the party coming to the contract is between the vendor who is a seller and the purchaser. So they of course repeat what is in LOA lah. So repeat as in subject property details, sale price, what is agreed sale price, what is deposit paid, if there is agreed terms are bigger cash deposit or not. Like say some people would have a lot of cash, so they want to pay more than 10%. This can be worded in the offer and acceptance. And also I have mentioned in the earlier video, some seller wants a bigger cash for the purpose of immediate use, and therefore would want a buyer who can come out with more cash and give a discount for such a motivation to give cash. So they would spell out also in the letter of offer and acceptance, and these are to be transposed to the sales and purchase agreement, and also the payment terms are 3+1. What are the likely issues? Like if it is a leasehold property, then there will be consent needed. So how long is the consent period? Usually it depends on the state lah. So some states is actually 3 months, some is actually 4 months, depending on a particular case, whereby if it needs minister consent, then maybe it takes even longer. So the key elements important in the sales and purchase agreement on the vacant possession, again, is a repeat of the LOA on delivery of the possession as is where is, subject to the existing tenancy usually, and then of course only deliver keys upon full payment, upon full payment of the the sale price. So we move on, delivery of possession, as I want to box it out as important milestone, time for milestone eventually to discuss further risks involved in the two conditions. One is the land acquisition situation, and the other one is the act of God, in case anything happen and then things got burned down. So the question asked is, well, if you have a SPS signed and then the process ongoing, and in between suddenly there is found to be a land acquisition by the government, so who is to take this risk based on what timing? So let us see later. So vacant possession is a milestone important for the time to say who actually take over the risk of the property . So consent who to get? So let's say now you have a leasehold property, and we got a sales and purchase agreement signed. Then who is to get the consent? Of course, it has to be the vendor, because the vendor wants to sell the property. He has to ask for consent to be able to sell his property. There are land title which actually say that it cannot be transacted unless with the approval of the land and survey, or in Sarawak it's land and survey, the superintendent of the land and survey. In some cases it can be minister. So all this is the part that encumbrance or it becomes encumbrances of the property to be released before it can be transacted. It can be deal. So in the legal term, in a land court, it says dealing. So if it is dealing, it has to get the consent. If it is restricted, so this consent, if fail, let's say a leasehold property after signing of sales and purchase agreement, and then it doesn't go through, it is not approved. So how long is to take the consent? In some places is 3 months, some places is 4 months. Here I put 120 days maximum. So if there is no consent by that period of time, what will happen? That should be spelled out clearly in the sales and purchase agreement. So other types of reasons is to abort, meaning to stop the sales and purchase agreement and release both parties, is like situation that the party purchaser may not want to continue buying because some thing unforeseen happen in the family. So let's say it's between the husband and wife, and then during this period of time something happened, they are not able to continue purchasing it. So if such case, what happened to the money paid So usually this will talk about as in forfeiture. So normally it will be a forfeited situation of the 10% deposit. If it is 10% already paid after signing sales and purchase agreement, that will be forfeited if the purchaser were to breach or to fall out from the contract. If there is no consent, then the purchaser will take back his refund and also whatever money he has spent because it is not his control. It's a conditional contract. It's not an unconditional one, so he will take back whatever his right of the money. Some SPA would actually put how long to take back so in cases some actually say is 30 days, some actually say is 14 days, and beyond that there will be interest charge. This one it will be spelled out in the fine print in the sales and purchase agreement. Other than that, if the vendor were to pull out, the vendor say, I don't want to sell to you anymore because I got to use it for my other purpose, then I'm not going to sell the property. Then the vendor can pull out and refund back whatever money and plus compensation of like sum. Like sum means if it is 10%, 10% down payment paid, which is let's say 50,000, then the vendor need to refund back the 50,000 as well as pay another 50,000 to compensate like sum to the purchaser. So the finances is an issue so a purchaser to get financing although the letter of offer from the bank already signed given to the purchaser, then the purchaser proceed to signing the sales and purchase. As soon as upon the execution of the SPA, this loan process to execute to submit for the part to execute to release the money. But then of course the situation is like this: the loan loan agreement need to be processed, then the bank need to charge the title if there is a title or there is a deed of assignment, then this deed of assignment need to be charged to the bank. So all these processes eventually take some time so it will not be as soon as signing the sales and purchase. The lawyer need to prepare all the document. The lawyer that does the loan agreement need to start processing the documents. So within a period of 3 months, 90 days, and if the loan is on the way, the purpose of the charging is to ensure that the new ownership is to the purchaser so the process of memorandum of transfer of the land title to the purchaser, as well as the memorandum of charge of the document of issue document of title to the bank. So that part it need some time to be processed by the land officer. So of course, let's say the process is natural, and within 2.5 months all this memorandum of transfer and memorandum of charge is done and been processed and given to the bank on the lawyer who prepared the legal document, then the bank would release the money without the change of the ownership. The bank cannot charge the title of the purchaser because the lawyer that does the loan agreement need to ensure that the loan is given upon security charge to the bank. The bank has got the right over the property, so the transfer of the name need to happen first. Of course, the question is if the transfer of the name and the memorandum of charge is done in the land office and yet eventually they don't want to proceed. That means the owner, new owner who is the purchaser say that he doesn't want to proceed. Let's say he say call off, I don't want to proceed, please don't release the money. Then the situation is breach again. So in this side of breach it's also back to the same condition. There is a breach and therefore has to follow. So this one I want to show in some of the sales and purchase agreement. There are wordings that spell out on this part, but they are generally not common to see this type of wording on bank loan not released. Therefore, what happened in other sales and purchase agreement that I have come across. So only when the total payment of the 90% or whatever the loan dispersed back to the owner or the vendor, then only then there is a vacant possession lah. Right. Let us talk about this purchaser to get financing, and later vendor is not bound to transfer unless there is a process of the 3 plus 7% the down payment has been paid. The memorandum of transfer and memorandum of charge has actually gone through Form G and Form H for Sarawak, and then the purchaser's lawyer to notify the bank to release the loan. So this part is worded in the sales and purchase agreement, usually to protect the vendor. So if let's say the vendor says that, well, you did not pay me the 10% down payment, or you did not do the part on the proper notification to the bank to release the money, then I would not want to proceed to do the change of name. So when nothing done on one side, there will be no subsequent action on the other side. So this is part of that usually be worded that vendor is not bound to transfer unless there are activities or action taken by the lawyer, purchaser lawyer to do certain thing. Because the end of the day is if the vendor lawyer does everything and then purchaser doesn't want to pay money, so it is a waste of time for the vendor lawyer to go all out and do all those things.